Welcome back to another video with me and my belligerently large seal. Today I'm going to tell you about how to cram for all your finals and get A's. If this doesn't work, send me hate mail, and if you can find my address, well then you didn't need to pass your finals anyways because there's an FBI job waiting for you. Anyways, this needs between 1 and 2 weeks of time for you to be able to do this, so if you're watching this with only 16 hours left for your final, this is not the year that you're going to make your parents proud. Just let them know that already. Now, normally this isn't like me. Normally every other year I spend weeks in advance studying for finals. I don't hang out with any of my friends because that would have to involve finding friends in the first place. But this year's a little bit different because of COVID, and because this is actually my last finals week. I've never actually gotten below an A in any class yet. This is my last finals week, and I'm feeling kind of lazy. I've been watching a lot of Naruto. I'm actually 6 lectures behind on my immunology class, so I'm going to be using these tips to help myself get an A on the immunology final as well this year. So it's not just you. So for around 1 to 2 weeks, preferably 2 weeks, you're going to have to tell your friends, tell your boyfriend or girlfriend that you're not going to be able to hang out with them and talk to them, or at least as much as you normally do, and they might not believe you because you're usually just playing video games or something, but studying is #1 priority. It doesn't really matter if they believe you. So get ready. So get ready, because me and my large seal are about to tell you the 3 things you need to do to get an A on your finals. The first thing you need to do is determine the final grade you want in the class, calculate what you need to get on your finals to get that final grade, and then know if your finals are cumulative or if they only go over the last couple weeks worth of material. This is going to help you know what you should prioritize when you're studying and what you can spend a little bit less time on. For example, if you want to keep an A in the class and the material is not cumulative, but you need to get a high final grade to keep that A, you might have to spend more time studying on that class. But if there's a class you only need a B in and the material is not cumulative and you only need a 45 to pass with a B in that class, well then you shouldn't be spending most of your time studying for that class. In the case of my immunology final, I only need a 71 to pass with an A, which in this class curves to a 90. So I might not need to spend as much time in this class, studying for this class, as I would for a class like Orgolab, which I might need a 91 to pass with an A, because the passing grade is a 93. So it's really important to know the requirements you need to meet your goal, so you can know how you should organize your time for studying. Number 2 is probably most important because it goes over how you should actually be going over your notes and studying. So it's broken into 2 parts, which is 1 conceptual and 2nd memorization. For conceptual, the first time you go over your lecture notes or the first time you're going over your actual lecture recordings, it's really important to remember the big concepts and the large overarching pictures. So it's more important for you to understand what's going on than know the small details of what's going on. So for example, right now in immunology we're learning about T-cell activation. As you can see on this slide here, there are 3 signals necessary for activation, but it's important to remember that the big picture tells us that more than 1 signal besides for the T-cell receptor is necessary to activate a T-cell. And so we know that signal 1 is the activation signal, signal 2 is the survival signal, and signal 3 is the differentiation signal. But as of right now, it's not necessarily important to memorize what the specific receptors are, what the actual signals are. For example, the MHC or the B7.1, it's not that important to memorize these things. It's just important to know that more than 1 signal is necessary to activate a T-cell, and that there's activation, survival, and differentiation that is determined by these 3 signals. For your conceptual phase, it's important to understand which concepts are harder and which concepts are easier. So you should spend more time understanding the concepts for the hard concepts and less time for the easy concepts. After understanding the concepts, the second time around when you look at the material, and this can be a little closer to the time of your actual final, for example 1, 2, 3 days out from your actual final, that's when you should do the memorization. For example, that's when I memorized that the MHC class 2 is what binds to the T-cell receptor, that B7.1, B7.2 binds to your co-receptor CD28, or that IL-6, IL-12, IL-23s, those are the specific cytokines that help to differentiate your helper T-cell into the different subsets of helper T-cells, Th1, Th2, Th17, T regulatory. So it's a little bit closer in time after I already understand the concept that there's an activation signal, a survival signal, and a differentiation signal, that I actually go and memorize the specifics and the details of all these concepts. Now, why is this helpful? Why is this the way that you should be doing it? Well, it's because think of it this way. The first time you learn about glycolysis in high school, you learn about it in a little bit of detail, and then you go to college, you learn about it in a little more detail in biochem, and then you go to med school and you learn it in a lot of detail, right? It isn't that the first time you learn about glycolysis in high school, you learn in great detail the first third of glycolysis, and then you go to college, you learn the second third of glycolysis in great detail, and then you go to med school and you learn the last third of glycolysis in great detail. It's because a lot of times if you don't learn the big conceptual ideas, you'll get lost and bogged down in the tiny details. And that's the same idea here. When you're studying for your finals, if you try to cram all the memorization, all the little details as you go chronologically, it's really hard to be able to stomach and to keep these ideas fresh and to be able to understand these ideas as you go, because a lot of times the concepts build on each other and the memorization aspects of them aren't as important. That's why it's important that you understand these concepts conceptually, understand the big picture the first time you go around, and then memorize the little details. Now for this third and final thing you need to do well in all your finals, I'm pulling out the big guns. I am putting on my glasses and pulling out my Lucky Pikachu. So now, this last thing is to prioritize the thing that your professor tells you to prioritize. Now, for example, if your professor doesn't tell you anything to prioritize, chances are you should spend your time focusing on the practice tests after you understand the concepts, because for me personally, a lot of times the practice tests are almost identical to the final, just with different questions. For example, for Orgo 1, Orgo 2, the practice tests were almost identical to the finals, they just had different questions, different numbers, things along those lines. But now, in the past, my physics teachers have told me, don't even look at the practice test that we've given you. Your final will be based on the homework and based on the click questions, in which case you need to prioritize the time you're trying to understand how to do those problems. And for immunology in particular, the teacher has made it very clear that our final will be based on the slides he's given, in which case he has no practice test, but it's really important for us to just constantly go over those slides. So tip number 3 is just to prioritize the thing that your professor tells you to prioritize, which may seem obvious, but a lot of times people get scared. They're like, the professor said that the final will be based on the homework and based off the clicker. Does that mean I should still go over all the slides and spend a lot of time pouring into those types of details? Doing things like that after going over them once might just be a waste of your time. Bonus tip number 4 is not really a tip, it's just a general life type of thing, and that is to make sure you also take care of yourself while studying for your finals. For example, every once in a while try to get in a 10-minute walk, try to get good sleep in, and something I enjoy particularly is to treat yourself to things you like to eat or drink. In my case, I really like Monster, so I make sure to always keep myself stocked on some Monster during finals week. But I don't know what you like. Maybe you like oxtail soup, maybe you like, I don't know, sushi or something. Make sure you can treat yourself to this type of thing while studying for your finals, because it'll improve your mental health drastically. After all, it's the little things that count. Now, if you made it this far, I said earlier that if you had 16 hours left, you were screwed and you were going to be a disappointment forever for your family. But there is one thing you can do, and that is to create a cheat sheet. So this is bonus tip number 5, that's create a cheat sheet. On your cheat sheet, you should have absolutely nothing conceptual, literally only things that you can memorize. For example, me for immunology, I'll draw all the pathways out, I'll write down all the CD this, IL that, IFN that, and these are things that are pure memorization that you put on your cheat sheet. For example, if I were taking physics, I would write down every single equation possible that I can memorize, and not write down anything conceptual. So make yourself a cheat sheet of literally just the things that you have to memorize that are not conceptual, and that can help you also study if you're in a bind for time. It's really helpful to make a cheat sheet if you have a lot of time as well, but cheat sheets become especially helpful if you're low on time. By the way, I just wanted to quickly say that if you put in the effort, no matter the result you get, you shouldn't be disappointed with yourself, because you know that you put in that work and that time. It's really easy to compare yourself. For example, I can look at people who spent less time than me but got better grades than me, and a lot of people will look at me and say that I spent less time than them and got better grades than them, but in the end, it's about the effort that you put in. Look at it in terms of you, and if you're satisfied with that, well, then that's good enough. Don't listen to what other people say. Anyways, thanks for watching. Thank you from Belligerently Large Whale and Lucky Pikachu, and I'll see you next time. Good luck on your finals, and peace.